Pretty recently, we were up in central Louisiana flipping rocks, looking for tarantulas and snakes, and I ended up ripping off the entire nail of my ring finger. Ow! No, I'm not. Heck, you rock. I actually badly injured myself.
Oh, really?
My whole fingernail. I might blur this out, but I lost my fingernail to a rock. It was pretty sucky, not something I'd like to have happen again, and I figured while I'm up here in central Tennessee flipping rocks, looking for snakes, I would cover some safety protocol on how you should properly flip rocks, looking for wildlife in a way that keeps the animals and yourself safe. Now firstly, when it comes to safety, always look where you're putting your hands. Do not put your hands where you cannot see everything around them. That includes under the rock, that includes ledges, places where you can't fully see underneath. There could be a snake or a venomous spider sitting on or next to the rock that you don't see. You put your hand right there, you get bit, now you're in a whole load of trouble. The second thing to determine, should you flip this rock? I have tried to flip rocks that I shouldn't. Flipping a rock bigger than you is rarely a good idea. Oftentimes, it is just not worth it to flip larger rocks, both for your own safety and the animals. For instance, if you lift a rock that's too big and you have trouble putting it back, well, you could end up like me, ripping off the whole top of your fingernail. There's also a chance that you lose control of the rock and you crush the animal under it, and that would be very upsetting, and it's not something you ever want to have to deal with. So flipping rocks that are just generally larger than you, not a good idea. Whenever you're flipping rocks, it's important to figure out, what are you looking for? Are you looking for snakes? Are you looking for bugs? This is going to determine where, when, and why you are flipping rocks. So for instance, today I'm going to be out here looking for snakes. I'd like to see copperheads, I'd like to see timber rattlesnakes, and I'd especially like to see eastern milk snakes. They're one of my favorite snakes in this region, and they're going to be sitting under large flat rocks. So I'm mostly going to be looking for large flat rocks, kind of on edge habitats in the sun. And that's going to limit the amount of rocks that I'm flipping, so I'm not wasting a bunch of energy, going all over the place and just flipping random rocks. So if you're looking for bugs, maybe you're looking for a centipede, you can flip rocks that are kind of into the ground. A lot of the time, certain animals can't get under rocks because there's just no space there. But other animals actually like having no space, so it really is important to determine what are you looking for, and that way you can flip more of the rocks of the animals that you are looking for. Now another thing is, what kind of rocks are you flipping? For instance, in this area, there's a lot of slate, a little bit of limestone here and there, as opposed to central Louisiana, which is all pretty much granite and limestone, which means sometimes you want to wear a little bit of protection. For instance, when we were over there, I was using this guy here, a big leather glove, and this would protect me pretty well from any sharpness of the rock. Now you might think, Zach, isn't that what a snake hook's for? Don't you want to use your snake hook to flip rocks? And the answer is generally going to be no. This hook right here is incredibly strong. I can flip rocks bigger than me with this thing, but it's a very small space. So if I flip the rock and I lose balance, I could drop the rock, crush the animal, everyone's day is ruined, I'm going to jail. It's oftentimes a lot better to flip rocks with your hands. It's safer for you, it's safer for the animal. So on days where I'm out flipping rocks, I normally keep my snake hook with me just to check around ledges and to poke around brushy sections so I don't step on a venomous snake. I'm not really using it to flip things to keep myself safe. Up here, something like this. Something that just keeps a little cover on my hands and makes it to where I'm not gonna immediately get cut up. I put that on backwards. These gloves are just generally meant to protect your hands from any kind of little cuts, scrapes, not meant to protect you from any large cuts or bruises, but they will keep your hands a lot more comfortable. They also help give you a little bit of grip. It can make grabbing bugs a lot harder, so if you're flipping rocks for bugs or even salamanders, keep in mind, these kinds of gloves, not gonna be your best bet. Now up in this region, I'm normally not gonna be wearing gloves. I'm just gonna be grabbing them with my hands, trying to be as careful as possible because the rocks here are super light and flaky, and I'd rather be delicate with the rocks. Which leads me to my next point of always put your rocks back. If you're gonna be going around all day long flipping thousands of rocks, that is a chance to displace a large amount of habitat for a large amount of animals. The goal is to put it back exactly how it was, to where one, the animal can still use it, but secondly, if someone else comes along and they wanna flip the rock, they have a perfectly flippable rock to put back. Sometimes it can take a while for rocks to weather into place, and you don't want to mess that up. You're just checking right underneath and then putting it back. There's a lot of regions and very sensitive habitats that have actually been messed up by people stacking rocks or even pulling rocks back. And if you genuinely cannot keep the habitat intact as you're checking rocks, then it's just good protocol to not check. Now that we've got how and why you should be flipping rocks, let's talk about how to do it the best. And I talked a little bit about this at the beginning, which is picking your rocks to flip. Now, what are you looking for? As you can see behind me, there are some incredible rocks to flip on this ledge, but a lot of them are smaller, so I'm probably not going to be looking for timber rattlesnakes here. And while there are a few ledges that copperheads could be hanging out on, it's not particularly the best place to be looking for those. So really what I'm looking for in this area is milk snakes, king snakes, rat snakes, and lots of tiny fossorial snakes. Now that all of the yapping is out of the way, let's go catch a snake. Now this is the perfect rock. Hey! Let's go! Milk. Well, I don't think it gets much better than that. Can you believe it, guys? It's the first rock I flipped.
Flashback.
This right here is a perfect rock. Ain't no way. There's never been a more perfect rock than this one. We're washed. A perfect rock right here. A little bit of modeling, base of a big tree, little rock ledge right there. I'd like to thank the Academy for this milk snake I'm about to catch. My life's a lie.
End of flashback.
Gorgeous eastern milk snake. This is one of my favorite snakes out here. I love popping up here and seeing them. And this is one of the snakes that people do tend to flip a lot of rocks for. Milk snakes in general tend to be a pretty targeted species. So my recommendation for anyone who wants to find milk snakes, for one, please keep their habitat intact. These guys are very threatened by habitat destruction. And secondly, just flip a lot of rocks, man. It takes a lot of rocks to catch these guys. It takes a lot of log flips to catch other species. It just takes time. A lot of these species, you just have to keep flipping rocks, do so safely, do so observantly, and be in the right areas for them, and you will find them. Eastern milk snakes are actually a pretty plentiful species out here. I wouldn't consider them rare like a lot of my local milk snakes. And I would say people frequently come across these guys in their yards, just on the road, and even just going hiking in their neighborhood park. They're a very generalist species, and like you saw, they like nice flat rocks on ledges. They normally like rock on rock. And as you flip more rocks, you'll start noticing these little patterns of, oh, this snake tends to like it where it's a little bit more wet. Oh, this one likes it where it's rock stacked on top of rock. These ones like it next to a log. You'll begin to notice the patterns of what habitat these animals are using. Now I gotta say, this is definitely an above average milk snake. Looking at his face there, he's got a gorgeous face, and he's got a Y pattern on the top of his head, a little aberrant pattern. Aberrant just means abnormal. Normally these snakes are very consistently blotched, but not this guy. He's got a very unique look to him. And that's one of my favorite things about king snakes in general, is you can have all these different color variants. A lot of my friends who do wildlife work like to call me the shiny hunter. I love going and seeing little aberrations, little changes in colors, and little anomalies in wildlife. And that makes milk snakes one of my favorites because you are more likely to have those aberrations. I think I've shown with good example how to flip rocks to find wildlife. If any of these tips were helpful, be sure to like the video. And if you do end up finding an animal, go ahead and send me a photo on Instagram, or you can send it to my email, as I definitely love to see all the creatures that you guys find under all the rocks that might be where you live. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to check out the time where I crushed my finger under a rock flipping for spiders up in central Louisiana. Really great adventure, that one, and I will see you guys next time. All right, time to get you back under your rock.